There's this specific feeling I get when I'm reading a really good book
Mm-hmm.
or even listening to an incredible speech. It's physical, my heart starts racing, I lose track of time, or I find myself, nodding along with an idea I didn't agree with 5 minutes ago. It feels like magic.
It feels like magic, absolutely. But that's the trick, isn't it?
Right, and that's what we're doing today. We are going to ruin the magic.
Huh? Well, maybe not ruin it.
Okay, maybe not ruin it, but we're definitely going to look behind the curtain. Because according to this whole stack of literary analysis guides, university syllabi, and state curriculum standards we have, that feeling isn't magic at all. It's engineering.
It's structural engineering for the brain.
Yeah.
Today we're diving into the blueprints of, well, literature and rhetoric.
Yeah.
We're looking at sources from the Common Core standards to guides from places like Lewis University and Okanagan College.
And the mission today is pretty specific. We want to move from being passive readers, the people who just let the story wash over them, to being active analysts. We want to hand you the toolkit so you can see the strings.
And honestly, once you see the strings, how an author manipulates time, how they limit what you see, or how they structure a logical trap in a speech, you don't enjoy the story less.
No, not at all.
You actually understand it on a much deeper, I'd say more dangerous level. You stop being a consumer and start being a critic.
So let's dump out the toolkit. The first thing that really hit me in the research, specifically from a guide by We Are Teachers, is that most of us we're reading wrong.
Or at least we're reading too fast.
Way too fast.
We are in the digital age, we scan. We skim for keywords. But the research really emphasizes close reading. Sort of the difference between driving past a house at 60 miles an hour and
actually getting out, walking up the driveway, and checking the foundation for cracks.
That's it, exactly.
These guides suggest a multi-pass approach. The first pass is just literal comprehension. That's the what happened phase.
Right, that's the primer coat of paint.
Yeah.
You need to know the plot. But if you stop there, you haven't actually analyzed anything. The insight only happens on the second or third pass.
That's where you shift.
Yeah, that's when you stop asking what, and you start asking how and why.
To help with that how, the research offers a specific framework called SIFT. It's an acronym. And I know acronyms can feel a bit like we're back in high school prep.
A little bit, yeah.
But this one actually seems like a solid checklist for a forensic analysis of a text.
It is effective because it forces you to slow down. So S is for symbolism. You're looking for objects that carry more weight than their physical description. Why is the bird in the cage? Why is the light green?
I is imagery, the sensory details. F is figures of speech metaphors, similes. And T is tone and theme.
But here's the key, and this is where most people get stuck. The trick isn't just to spot them like it's a scavenger hunt. It's to connect them. If you see dark imagery and a cynical tone, they usually build toward a theme of despair. You're looking for the pattern, not just the parts.
Okay, so we sift through the text to find the raw materials, but then we have to build an argument. And I found this Peel method from a site called Revision Dojo really interesting here because it addresses the biggest failure point I have when talking about books.
Which is?
I point at a quote and I just say, look, a metaphor. And I expect everyone to just intuitively get why it's important.
That is the classic pitfall. Identifying the part isn't the same as explaining the function. That's where Peel comes in. It stands for point, evidence.
Explanation and link.
Exactly.
And the heavy lifting is in that second E, explanation.
It is. The point is your claim. The evidence is your quote.
Ooh.
But the explanation, that's where you have to tell me how the author's technique creates an effect on the reader. Don't just tell me the author used rain.
Right.
Tell me that the imagery of rain creates a mood of cleansing or maybe creates a barrier between the character and the world.
So you have to connect the mechanical choice to the psychological effect.
Yes, that turns vibes into evidence.
So we have the toolkit, sift and peel. Now I want to apply this to some of the actual blueprints mentioned in our sources. One of the most fascinating sections in the Common Core standards, specifically one labeled RL.9 1010.5, is about time.
Manipulating time to create mystery, tension, or surprise. Authors are essentially time lords. They don't have to experience time linearly, and they don't let you experience it that way either.
And the standard example here, and spoilers ahead for anyone who hasn't read this 1890 classic, is An Occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge by Ambrose Bierce.
A masterpiece of structural manipulation. A total masterpiece.
So the setup seems linear. Peyton Farquhar, a Confederate sympathizer, is on a bridge. He has a noose around his neck. The soldiers step aside. He falls. The rope breaks.
And suddenly the pacing just shifts completely.
Right. He hits the water. He struggles. He frees his hands. He dodges bullets. The narrative slows down so much. He notices the veins on the leaves of the trees. He sees the eye color of the marksman on the bridge. The detail is excruciatingly high res.
That high-res quality is the trap. The author is using sensory overload, the eye in SIFT,
Yeah.
to make you believe this is reality.
Yeah.
He runs through the forest, travels all day and night, finally reaches his home, sees his wife,
And that
snaps. His neck breaks. He is dead, hanging beneath the bridge.
he never escaped.
He never even hit the water. The entire escape took place in the split second of the fall.
But why do that? Is it just a gotcha moment to trick the reader?
I think it's more than a trick. It's a structural argument about the human mind. Bierce is showing us that subjective time, the time inside our heads, is completely different from objective clock time. By stretching that 1 second into pages and pages of text, he forces the reader to inhabit the desperate denial of a dying brain. The structure is the cytology.
It's incredible how length dictates feeling. And we see the opposite approach in Kate Chopin's The Story of an Hour.
A very different type of time manipulation. This story is so brief, incredibly brief.
And the plot is a roller coaster. So Louise Millard has a heart condition. She's told her husband died in a train accident. She goes to her room, sobs, but then she starts to feel something else.
She whispers, free, body and soul free.
It's this shocking moment of joy. She realizes her life is finally her own. She's not just a wife anymore, she's a person. She walks down the stairs, feeling like a goddess of victory, and then the front door opens.
And there stands her husband, alive. He wasn't even on the train.
And Louise drops dead.
The doctors say it was joy that kills.
Which we, the reader, know is the ultimate irony. It wasn't joy, it was the horror of that freedom being snatched away. But looking at the engineering of this, why is the story so short?
Because the freedom was short. If Chopin's had written a whole novel about Louise's widowhood, we would have settled into it. But by compressing this massive emotional arc into just an hour, the reader gets structural whiplash.
Whiplash is a good word for it.
You feel that sudden expansion of possibility, and then the sudden crushing slam of the door. The brevity makes the tragedy sharper.
It creates a visceral reaction. It reminds me of that other short story in our stack, The Chaser by John Collier. It's almost entirely dialogue. A young man wants a love potion.
And the old man selling it warns him. He says the love potion is cheap. It's $1. But the chaser, the antidote, the poison, costs $5,000.
And the guy buys the love potion thinking he'll never need the chaser.
And the story just ends there. But the structure relies on implication. The twist hasn't happened yet on the page, but it has already happened in the reader's mind.
Right.
We know he's going to come back for the poison because the love he's buying is actually a horrific, suffocating obsession. The author trusts the reader to complete the architecture.
That's a common theme here. The author builds the frame, but the reader has to finish the house. And that brings us to the next blueprint, which is maybe the most manipulative of all. Point of view. Who is holding the camera?
In film, if you put the camera at a low angle, the character looks powerful. If you put it high, they look weak. In literature, the camera is the narrator. And the most dangerous camera of all is the first-person narrator.
The eye.
Exactly. Because I can lie, or more often, I can be wrong.
And the classic example here is The Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Perkins Gilman.
Oh, essential reading. We have a woman suffering from what was called nervous depression. Her husband, who is a physician, locks her in a room for a rest cure.
And we are reading her secret journal. She describes this hideous yellow wallpaper. And slowly, she starts describing a woman trapped behind the pattern, shaking the bars.
Now, if you apply SIFT here, the symbolism is so clear. The woman in the paper is her. She's trapped by domesticity, by her husband's control, by 19th century medicine.
But the point of view is what creates the horror. By the end, she's crawling around the room, peeling off the paper to free the woman. She thinks she's succeeded. She feels triumphant.
But because we are trapped in her head, we have to do a double take. If we were standing in the room with her husband, who faints when he sees her, by the way, we would see a woman in a complete psychotic break.
But we don't feel like we're watching a crazy person. We feel like we're watching a liberation.
That is the genius of the unreliable narrator. It creates this tension between narrative truth, what the character feels, and objective truth, what is actually happening. Gilman forces us to empathize with the madness.
Yeah.
If she told this story in the third person, once there was a woman who went crazy, it would be a cold medical case study.
Yeah.
In the first person, it's a tragedy because we are in there with her.
We see a similar, maybe even more complex shift in Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. I was surprised to see how often this book pops up in the curriculum standards, but the structure is just wild.
It's a structural nesting doll. You have Walton's letters on the outside, then you have Victor Frankenstein's story, and then right in the middle, the heart of the doll, you get the creature story.
And that shift to the creature's perspective changes everything. Up until then, through Victor's eyes, he's a monster, a demon, a mistake.
But when the camera switches to the creature, we see his pain. We see his loneliness, his desire to be loved, his intellectual growth. The structure forces a shift in our allegiance. Suddenly, Victor looks like the monster for abandoning his own creation.
Wow.
The structure is the moral argument. If Shelley hadn't given the creature a voice, the book would just be a monster movie.
It really makes you question who the narrator is in any situation. I mean, even in The Great Gatsby, everything we know about Gatsby's glamour comes through Nick Carraway.
And Nick is a self-proclaimed honest man who is actually deeply biased and totally obsessed with Gatsby. If Tom Buchanan told that story, Gatsby's just a crook in a pink suit.
So, if novels manipulate us by letting us inside heads, plays drama, they have to do it differently. The Okanagan College Guide points out that in a play, you generally can't hear thoughts.
Not directly, unless you use a soliloquy, breaking the fourth wall to talk to the audience. But the bigger structural tool in drama is dramatic irony.
Which is when we know something the characters don't.
It creates unbearable tension. The most famous example is Romeo and Juliet. The prologue tells us in the first 2 minutes that they're going to die.
A pair of star-crossed lovers take their life. It's right there.
So every time Romeo says, "I love you forever," or they make plans for the future, the audience feels this pang of grief. If we didn't know the ending, it would just be a cheesy teen romance. The knowledge turns it into a tragedy.
So the structure weaponizes the audience's knowledge against the characters.
Yeah.
And then you have foil characters.
A foil is a character who exists primarily to contrast with the protagonist. It's like calibration. In Romeo and Juliet, you have Mercutio.
He's the cynic. He mocks dreams. He mocks love.
And structurally, he highlights Romeo's idealism. You can't see how intense Romeo's love is unless you hold it up against Mercutio's dirty jokes.
It's placing a diamond on black velvet.
That's a great way to put it. The contrast makes the definition.
Sometimes the structure gets even more meta. We have to talk about Hamlet.
The play within a play. This is meta-theatricality. Hamlet isn't sure if the ghost of his father is telling the truth about the murder. So what does he do?
He directs a play.
He directs a play that reenacts the murder to watch his uncle's reaction. He uses fiction to catch a reality.
Wow.
Shakespeare is basically showing off the power of his own medium. He's saying, look, theater isn't just entertainment. It's a mirror for truth. It's a structural hall of mirrors that adds layers of psychological complexity you just can't get in a straight narrative.
Okay, we've covered fiction and drama, but the second half of our research stack deals with the real world. Nonfiction, rhetoric, the art of argument. Because the same engineering principles apply, right?
Absolutely. Whether you are writing a horror story or a presidential speech, you are trying to hack the listener's brain. You are trying to control how they feel and what they think.
The Arizona and Common Core standards lean heavily on the big three appeals from Aristotle: ethos, pathos, and logos.
Right. Ethos is credibility, trust me. Pathos is emotion. Feel this. And logos is logic. Think this.
But the magic isn't in just sprinkling them in, it's in how they are structured. Let's look at Patrick Henry's famous speech, "Give me liberty or give me death."
This is a masterclass in a structural technique called the false dilemma.
It sounds manipulative.
It is entirely manipulative. Logically, are there only two options, liberty or death? Of course not. There is negotiation, there is delayed rebellion, there is partial autonomy.
So many other options.
But Henry structures his argument to delete the middle ground. He forces the listener into a corner where the only honorable choice is his choice.
It's a binary trap.
Exactly. Now compare that to the structure of John F. Kennedy's inaugural address. Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
That's catchy, but why does it stick?
It's parallelism. He reverses the grammatical structure, creates
Right.
rhythm, a balance. And our brains love symmetry. It makes the idea feel complete, almost inevitable. If he had just said, you shouldn't just take from the government, you should help out, the meaning is the same. But the power is gone. The structure is the authority.
And then we have the heavyweight champion of rhetorical structure, Martin Luther King Jr.'s "I Have a Dream."
Everyone remembers the dream part, which is pure pathos and repetition. But look at the beginning of that speech. He starts with a massive metaphor involving logos logic and
The
economics.
bad check.
Right. He says America has given the Negro people a bad check, which has come back marked insufficient funds.
It's brilliant because it takes a very abstract concept, historical injustice, constitutional rights, and turns it into something concrete that everyone understands. Money.
A transaction. It makes the injustice undeniable. You can argue about abstract rights, but you can't argue about a bounced check. He structures the moral argument as a debt that needs to be paid.
So whether it's Patrick Henry forcing a choice or MLK demanding payment, the best arguments rely on a clear claim and a specific structure to deliver it.
And this is crucial in the New Jersey and Arizona standards. They also acknowledge the counterclaim. A good argument doesn't just ignore the other side.
No.
It dismantles it. You anticipate what the audience is thinking, and you address it before they can even object.
It seems like the common thread today, whether we're talking about the yellow wallpaper or I have a dream, is intentionality.
Yeah.
Nothing is accidental.
Nothing. Every word choice, every shift in the timeline, every broken sentence is a lever being pulled.
So I have to ask the so what question. We have this listener who has stuck with us through 19th century literature and Greek rhetoric. Why does this matter if they aren't writing an essay for school?
It matters because it is self-defense.
Self-defense against what?
Manipulation. We live in an economy of attention. When you understand how the yellow wallpaper traps you in a perspective, you can recognize when a news outlet is doing the exact same thing, trapping you in a specific worldview by omitting the camera angles at the other side.
Or when a politician uses a false dilemma to make you feel like you have no choice but to vote for them.
Or when an advertisement uses the pacing of a thriller, just like Owl Creek Bridge, to create artificial anxiety so you buy a security system you don't need.
You stop being the subject of the experiment.
You become the analyst. You start reading the world instead of letting the world read you.
There's a haunting story referenced in the outro of one of our guides, Edgar Allan Poe's The Oval Portrait.
Oh, that is a dark one to end on, but it fits perfectly.
A painter is so obsessed with capturing the life of his wife on canvas that he doesn't notice she is literally fading away in the chair as he paints her.
Yeah.
By the time the portrait is finished and fully alive, the real woman is dead.
The art sucked the life out of the reality.
I think that's a perfect metaphor for what we're talking about. The structures we build, stories, news, arguments, are powerful. They can replace reality if we aren't careful.
Absolutely. So here's a thought to leave you with. We've analyzed how authors manipulate time and perspective in fiction. Now look at your phone. Look at your feed.
The TikToks, the headlines, the 280 character arguments.
How many of them are using these exact same blueprints? How many are using pacing to keep you scrolling? How many are using unreliable narrator tactics to shape your anger?
Are you reading the text? Or is the text reading you?
That's the real
Something to chew on. Thanks for diving deep with us.
Keep reading.